with the Cardinals going up against the Vikings on Sunday, who do you think is going to come out on top and why?
I mean, to me, it's kind of clear and evident. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings. I think they have too potent of an offense to be stopped. I mean, you have to have an answer for Justin Jefferson. You have to have an answer for Adam Thielen. Irv Smith is coming to his own at the tight end position. Dalvin Cook is one of the better backs in the league. And of course, you have to account for Kirk Cousins is not playing in a primetime game. So that means he should relatively play well. The Vikings defense has been pretty surprising for me outside of the Eagles completely embarrassing them on that Monday night performance a few months ago. It really did look like the Vikings were going to be on to something good. I mean, if they don't lose to the Eagles, they'd be the undefeated team in the season. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying outside of Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins, there's a lot left to be said about the Cardinals. I know that they had a pretty good defensive performance last week with a couple of interceptions, maybe even I think a pick six or two, if I'm not mistaken. I really do not have too much faith in that team to go out there and do I guess like do the impossible. I don't really have faith in them to go out there and perform, especially not against a team that's as stout like the Vikings. They're actually they're competing in all phases, and Kyler Murray tends to force feed the ball to DeAndre Hopkins from what I saw in the first game. And the run game has been up and down. I mean, obviously we have injuries to James Conner and a couple of other players, but at the end of the day, I'm definitely going Minnesota. I don't really think it's going to be a close one, but then again, if Minnesota's defense does not show up, it's very likely that this could be a shootout like Kyle had just said. So if this were to be anywhere between 28 and 35 points for each team, I wouldn't be surprised. So I'll go with Minnesota on the upside. I'll go 35-27, 35-28, somewhere around there, but I got Minnesota winning and moving to 6-1.
Yeah, I agree with you on this one. I got to pick Minnesota in this case. It's not to say that, the Cardinals didn't have a bad performance last week against the Saints. I mean, they scored 42 points, and it's probably one of the best performances that they've had as a team so far this year. So it was definitely nice to kind of see them kind of get back to their old ways. I know last year they got off to a really hot start, then they kind of fell off, and you know, things just didn't work out for them in the end. But it was just nice to see kind of like almost kind of like a spark from the past with the Cardinals based off of that Saints game. But in this one, I mean, I got to go with the Vikings just simply because they've been the more consistent team so far this year. When I look at the Vikings, with them sitting at a 5-1 record, they've definitely been impressive. Are they the best team in the NFL? Are they a team that could, rival somebody like maybe the Eagles, the Giants, or maybe the Cowboys? Yeah, potentially. It's just whether or not that Kirk Cousins is going to be able to step up to that level where the Vikings need him to. And I think in this game specifically, I think he's going to be able to do quite nicely. Kev, it was kind of funny that you mentioned the whole primetime game element with Kirk, because thank God this is not a primetime game, because God only knows what we'd see from Kirk Cousins, with him probably turning the ball over 2 to 3 times in that type of environment. But I think in this game specifically, I think he's going to be relatively safe. I think he's probably going to pass for somewhere around maybe 250, 275 yards passing. Wouldn't be surprised if he connects consistently with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, just because, I mean, that connection between Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson, I mean, it's just been lights out the entire year. And I wouldn't be surprised if Justin Jefferson, gets somewhere in between, I'd say maybe 10 to 12 targets. I mean, hell, he could probably get maybe 15 targets based on the game plan from Minnesota. But overall, I mean, when I look at their offense, they're loaded. I mean, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, you got Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook has been solid this year. Has he really been like a top performer in the running back group? Not necessarily compared to like the rest of the league, but he's been very consistent. And as long as he's able to effectively rush for somewhere in between about, let's say 75 to maybe 125 yards rushing, that's definitely something that I could expect in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if, he gets some check downs from Kirk in this game as well, just because he could be utilized in that purpose with the way that the Vikings run their offense. And really the big thing for me is whether or not that they're going to be able to contain Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is somebody that you have to respect his ability to escape out of the pocket, be able to make plays with his feet. And now that he has DeAndre Hopkins back in the fold, wouldn't be surprised, if they really go back into that well where Kyler's hitting up DeAndre consistently. I'm not talking, 10, 11 targets. Maybe it could be as high as 15, just because, DeAndre missed those first 6 games, and they definitely need to get him back into the fold as soon as possible. It's just to get up to speed. But overall, man, I just think that the Vikings have the pieces here to be able to knock off the Cardinals here. I think it is going to be a relatively decent game as far as the scoring is concerned. I don't know how far the margin's going to be, But if I had to say, I say the Vikings win this one by like a one possession game. So I'll just kind of leave it at that. But the Vikings get the dub, they would improve to 6-1 in the year, and that's just kind of how I see it playing out for them.